Special thanks goes to our gold sponsor, Accenture.
Okay, thanks for having me. This talk will be about our experience and our opinion using reason in, let's say, more traditional enterprise environments. Yeah, I'm working for Accenture. Before we start, who is Accenture? Yeah, we are a company. We are developing and implementing technology solutions, end-to-end, strategy, consulting, operations, architecture, everything. And we are a fairly big company, so we have 430,000 employees. And our clients we have 4,000 clients, and our clients are in the majority of the Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and I'm pretty sure the majority of you are the clients of our clients. Yeah. So I'm working in a group which is monitoring and bringing, let's say, technologies that we think will have a really good maturity in 1 to 3 years, and we're bringing them to our clients, and we are also evangelizing them in our company. Yeah? Reason is one of these technologies we are looking at. And the first question is always, why does it make sense to bring emerging technologies to, let's say, more traditional enterprises? And obviously, the technology could enable new business. Yeah. So, for example, cloud or artificial intelligence, it's enabling new business for our clients. But for Reason, it's more about it's creating a better solution. Yeah. So it's doing things better than with other technologies, maybe. Yeah. And we always need to define what does better mean. Is it more profitable? Is it more enjoyable for the clients? It depends. Yeah. So, and what is so special about enterprises, or about, let's say, more traditional enterprises? Most of our clients, they are no IT companies. So they have large ITs, yeah, but they are not an IT company. So what we are dealing with is large teams. And when I say large, I mean 500,000 of developers working on a single code base, maybe. Yeah. So these are really big teams, and there are heterogeneous skills. So that means obviously some are good, some are not as good, but the focus is not on IT. So sometimes the skills are a bit outdated and so on. Yeah. Usually the culture sometimes is also, there's not a lot of room for failure. There is not like, try that out, and if it doesn't work, we don't care. So Cheng already mentioned it. Sometimes it's really difficult to explain your manager, let's do it with Reason because I think it will be better. And then he asks, who is doing that? Like, oh, okay, it's new. I don't know. And usually they have a lot of history, a lot of legacy, and a lot of brownfield situation. That means your technology needs to integrate really well with the existing code. So when we are looking as a company at emerging technologies like Reason, we are looking at certain capabilities. And it's not the capabilities that maybe other IT-focused companies are thinking about. So it's not performance, it's not bundle size or something. For us, we're looking at other capabilities first. Obviously, performance and bundle size is important, but for us, other things are more important. And for me personally, the most important thing when looking at new technologies is developer ergonomics, developer experience. We are rolling this out to huge teams. It's important that they are able to learn this tech really quick, and they need to be able to understand it to create valuable things with it. Yeah. And like as I said before, the skills, sometimes you have people, they haven't learned a new technology since 5 years. So they must be enabled to learn this thing. Yeah? The tooling needs to be spot on. Yeah? So the tooling means, we need to have editor integration, we need to have debugging, and all these things must run on a workstation, on a managed workstation. That's sometimes an issue, that you cannot install things on the things they are working on, the developer. And another important thing with the tooling is it must be quick. Yeah? Imagine having to compile 1 hour a day across 500 developers. That's not a good deal. Yeah? And an important thing is also the developers need to be able to get support. And you don't want to have support calling somebody. You want to be able to go online, go to Stack Overflow, go to Medium, read some articles and get help there. The second point that is important for us, and we are looking at that, is robustness and stability. Yeah? So how difficult or how hard is it to do things wrong with this technology? Yeah? And the second important thing is, does it even work if you do things wrong? Yeah? So for example, for me, a good example is React. Yeah? You can do things with React that you would never do, yeah? And it still works. Yeah? And that's an important thing. And also the last thing where React is doing a really good job is API stability. So it's really hard to tell a client, you've built 80% of your product with this technology, and now there's a breaking change in the update, and you need to put in some money and work to, let's say, refactor the old code. Yeah? So API stability is a really important thing for us. And then obviously the ecosystem. We need good libraries. We need a big ecosystem. The technology needs to integrate really well in existing code. So for example, there might be JavaScript there already. How do we integrate that? And we need to have some sane default choices. This means there are these two words. Either you have a technology that has everything included and it's too much, or you have the technology that just does one thing, and then you need some consulting and some help to understand which things do I need, which router do I take, how do I do state management, yeah? And we need just same default choices. Okay, you do A, B, C, and that's it, yeah? So Reason obviously brings these capabilities to the table, so that's why we looked at it in more detail. And what capabilities, let's say more specifically, were really for us the thing for Reason, yeah? So the first thing is the type system, yeah? It doesn't work in enterprises to build big software without a type system, yeah? It's just insane, yeah? If you have 500,000 lines of code, you want to have a type system, yeah? And I know there's TypeScript, but we are not comparing TypeScript to a Reason, because I believe that the type system has to be mandatory, and the language itself must be really well integrated with the type system. For me, a good example is always exhaustive pattern matching. This is one of the best features for large code bases, and this is really well integrated in Reason. And if you look at TypeScript, it's kind of shaky to do that. Yeah. The next thing is pragmatic paradigms. We want to have a new technology that uses new new programming paradigms, yeah. But it's kind of pragmatic, It's not like we are a functional language. That's why we're sticking to all the functional rules. It needs to be practicable, yeah. It needs to have if you're having a big code base, and so there are sometimes edge cases where you need an escape hatch. That's important, yeah. Then obviously interop, yeah, as I said it already, you need to be able to integrate really well with old code bases. And the tooling. So Reason comes with a lot of tooling. So it's kind of, you just install it and you're ready to go. You don't need to install many other things, yeah. So Zheng already mentioned it, yeah. Just looking at the technology, yeah, you can do that, but you need to put this thing into production to see if it works or not, yeah. So we've been fortunate to have a client that had, let's say, a use case that was not business critical and not time critical, and he agreed that we can use this new technology. And so we created an application for a large European financial institution. And in the end, it was an app. It was a lunch lottery for employees. It's like, yeah, the employees want to meet each other. So they are just want to somehow have a lottery where they say, okay, you can go to lunch with colleague A, yeah? And so it's a chatbot, kind of. So you're talking to a chatbot, and he's then linking you up with some other person, and then you can chat with him, and then you can meet him in the lunch thingy, yeah? So it's a progressive web app. It's offline first, because often you don't have mobile connections into buildings. It's mobile first. It has live updates through WebSockets, server-side events, and polling. It's 100% built on open source components. So also the chatbot on the backend is on-premise open source framework, because there's personal data, and let's say in Europe, personal data, it's always difficult to send it through services. And it's deployed and it runs on Kubernetes. Yeah? So all in all, we had a good experience with it. We would have been a bit faster with let's say the tech stack we know, but all in all, it was a really nice experience. So, but obviously, we did that the first time, yeah. So it was our first time that we built a bigger thing with Reason. So what were the challenges that we encountered, yeah? And the first thing was, yeah, you need to read the BuckleScript doc. Yeah, we started reading the Reason docs, and then we started to recognize, okay, maybe it makes sense to also read the BuckleScript docs maybe even before, yeah. Then one point for us was it was a bit unclear which API to use. Yeah? So there's the Reason API, but there's also the Backrascript API, and there were like let's say edge cases, map dictionary, or strings. There are multiple implementations in the Reason API, but there's also implementation in the Backrascript API. So which one to use? Yeah. In our implementation, we highly used optionals, or let's say the variant type optional. And for us, it was a bit annoying, and it was like bloating the code that there was no API to work with optionals. I mean, a good example is Rust, so unwrap or a question mark operator or something like this. Yeah. The stack traces, sometimes they were really good, sometimes they were not readable. Yeah. Sometimes we had warnings about Reason React dependencies, sometimes not. So I think, but we heard already today that there was a lot of things that are going on right now. Yeah. And then the formatter, we had sometimes some issues with the formatter, removing the parentheses on, let's say, lines that only have a statement. But obviously, if you have some kind of an error, you want to put in some debug log, and then you need to add all the parentheses again. And one thing that we noticed in our team of 4 people, that we managed it somehow to have different Reason CLIs installed on our machines, which ended up that somebody couldn't compile the code of the other one anymore. Yeah? So that were the challenges that we encountered. Yeah? So what is our opinion of Reason today? So what would we do if somebody, a big client comes to us and says, here's a big project? I think we like it, but it's not there yet. Yeah? So we really see it's really good what is happening there. That's why we are sponsoring it. It just needs to mature a little bit. Getting started was super quick, so the developer experience is spot on. Although the JavaScript interop, it was a bit difficult for junior developers to understand. Yeah, the syntax. The type system, this is really spot on. It's really good. It helped us to reduce a lot of runtime errors. But yeah, like I said before, the tooling was a bit. It still needs to grow a bit more. Yeah? The ecosystem of Backrascript bindings, we ended up writing a lot of bindings on our own because either the bindings didn't exist or the open source bindings were either not complete or buggy. And so that was kind of, let's say, breaking us a bit. Yeah? We think the paradigms are really well balanced for programmers from all, let's say, from object-oriented programming, from functional programming. So we in a team, we've been kind of different people, so with different backgrounds. And for all of us, it was somehow, okay, we understand what's happening here. So this is really well, yeah. And we really like the batteries that were included, yeah. So really to have routing, state management, and so on included. That's what you need. Obviously, you need always to add a little bit, but this is like the perfect starter pack, yeah. So for us as a company, we will still monitor Reason. It's like on the top of our list. That's why we try to support the community as good as possible. For us, interesting would be, what is the commitment for the future of Reason? What is the roadmap? For our clients, a really big thing is there a comprehensive story for web and mobile? Yeah, because that's today, it's a big thing to have like one technology to cover both of these aspects. So if you want to talk to us, we are here. So my colleagues are also here, Dominic and Kevin. Feel free to approach us, and thank you very much.